Hello. Welcome to a brand new episode of Newsflash. We're just going to get right into it today because we are talking about a series of very interesting subjects. I think that it's kind of going to be of interest to everybody because we are talking today about James Carville. We're starting to talk about James Carville. I do want to get a little bit of Democratic primary stuff and really tell you about what could be going on with the Nevada caucuses, which is going to be later this week that you're going to be hearing this, and kind of portend the trouble that may or may not, again, I cannot predict the future here, but may or may not be coming down the road. But first, I want to talk to you about this James Carville character. This James Carville character. But to do that, I think we really have to take you back to 1994. And, let's just think about it. Get the picture in here. Ill communication, monster, super unknown. They were blaring from every boombox and Chevy Cavalier cassette deck. Final Fantasy III had a generation of socially awkward kids glued to a Super Nintendo. Forrest Gump was a spinning boomer fever dream about American history on the big screen, and Pulp Fiction was the coolest thing imaginable. To the news junkies of that era, there was James Carville. He was the rock star of that era. He was omnipresent and unquestionably brilliant. He was the smartest guy in the room. He had a quiver full of Cajun quips. He was different. He was the guy who was the guy who made you sit up and, if you were in a meeting with him, just you sit. He would be the type of guy where you sit up and you're like, oh, who's this guy? He's grabbing my attention. Oh, I've never seen him before. Wow. But yeah, never mind that on election day, the incumbent George H.W. Bush had an approval rating of 30%, or that Ross Perot siphoned up 18% of the popular vote with a populist anti-deficit message. Carville and his "It's the Economy, Stupid" tagline were treated with something approaching awe by CNN and the Sunday panel shows. He was huge when it came to the personalities he was one of the big unlikely personalities that gave Bill Clinton the White House. He credited as the architect for Clinton's rise from no-name governor to president. Now trying to do the same thing with Michael Bennett. Maybe it's not working out as well, but we'll get into that. Times change, though. President Carville represents much of what's wrong with the Democratic Party. Its refusal to learn from its mistakes, and boy, has it made money. Its obsession with appealing to wealthy suburbanites while telling its traditional base of the working class and people of color to suck it up because Republicans are worse, folks. Like, guys, we're stupid here. We are stupid here. If we don't get our stuff in line, we're going to get our butts handed to us on a chopstick by President Trump. He really does. He says some pretty crazy things. They're really kind of all over the place. And I do want to play some of them. Last Tuesday on MSNBC, in the wake of the Iowa caucus on February 3rd, he emerged from MSNBC's cryo chamber to deliver a fiery rant against Bernie Sanders, which we'll get to. It really is this obsession of appealing to these suburbanites, telling the people who are really struggling that, we can't help you, it's not going to help us win elections. So we can't help you because it doesn't work for us. That is the message that the working class and the traditional Democratic base get time and time again. That's why they didn't turn out for someone who was espousing that message to the T in Hillary Clinton. And it's all about performative over the substance, with Pelosi, for example, ripping that speech a few weeks ago, and above all else, the belief that operatives and consultants know the pulse of the nation and can soothsay the will of the common man. So this is the fiery rant that we have to get to for this Dem veteran, James Carville, as an LSU alumni himself, speaking truth to power, being strong out there. Anyway, let's get into this. This is, of course,
through the AT&T network. Edge-to-edge
intelligence
gives you the power to see every corner.
Yeah, and we can't even get a mute for this.
From using feedback to
anyway, I'm trying to offer you because that's just incredibly annoying, and it's 17 seconds long. That's MSNBC for you. But it is an incredible show of really, I think, everything entirely wrong with the Democratic Party. Because it's like, this is just what we call bad thinking and something that has no basis really in reality. Here, take a listen to what he has to say.
This isn't a mess in Iowa, as I said to Claire McCaskill. It'll do until the mess gets here.
Well, the other things that worry me, apparently the turnout in Iowa was not what I would expect it, other people would expect it. I know the numbers are still coming in, but people are telling me it's more like 2016, 2018. The polling averages have not been very good the last 10 days. And I've seen some pretty good polls that show enthusiasm among Democrats is not as high as we might like it. So there's something as people are watching this process that is concerning them. I do want to take the chance to congratulate Mayor Pete and his staff. That was a remarkable night that they had in Des Moines. But I think this is not going particularly well so far.
Bernie won Iowa.
Why is Tom Perez still the chairman of the Democratic National Committee? I have no idea. This party needs to wake up and make sure that we talk about things that are relevant to people. We need to go back to 2018 where we had good, diverse, strong candidates that had real connections to the community and talked about real things. We don't need to become the British Labour Party. That's a bad thing. It's not going well over there. So Democrats, and now I want to see these candidates, and Mayor Pete's got something going.
Like this, again, okay. So some of the stuff he said has been kind of objectionable at the first point, like the stuff about the Democratic caucuses in Iowa really not being that high for turnout. Like, yeah, whatever. But I think where it gets kind of into interesting territory is when he's talking about this whole thing with we don't want to become the British Labour Party. Okay. I don't want to become the British Labour Party either, but I think the thing is, and I've talked about this before, especially in covering the wake of their election. It's obviously not a great thing, but there's massive differences between Jeremy Corbyn and Bernie Sanders. Painting them at the same thing is just not. It's so stupid. It's like comparing an apple not to an orange, but to an elephant. Because sure, they're both left-wing candidates on the political spectrum, but the media climate they're operating in completely different. The politics in their countries they're operating in is completely different. For example, England already has a lot of the stuff that Bernie Sanders wants America to have. Like, they already have college at incredibly reduced prices. They have the incredible NHS. They have strong unions and a solid minimum wage. They have green policies and economic policies that are so far more advanced than what we have right now. But Corbyn was calling for an industrial New Deal, but the policies that they have are light years ahead of what Bernie Sanders is fighting for. So, like, maybe that comparison makes a little more sense when we get when we have the ability to guarantee healthcare to everybody. But until then, I don't want to hear that. Oh, Jeremy Corbyn, they're on the same playing field, because they're just not. They are just not. The playing fields that they're at in politics and the respective politics goes on in their two different countries just is not applicable. It's really not applicable to either situation, because it's like these people, what Bernie's fighting for, England's had since what, like the 1930s, 1940s? Like, we are behind them in a lot of the stuff that Bernie wants to get done. This is, I think, the first big comparison. But also, we're not going through our version of Brexit. So that's a huge wrinkle to the story. And I think one of the big things, just not really to delve back into this too deeply, but the reason why the UK Labour Party fared so badly was because they were mostly because they were split on Brexit. Their media coverage also was incredibly tough. And not to say that they didn't run a campaign that wasn't good. Obviously, they didn't. They lost by so much. But just the whole point is that they have this different narrative when it comes to Brexit, because half of their party is kind of like the neoliberals, I shouldn't say the neoliberals, but the kind of cosmopolitan British wealthy and professional managerial class that we see dominate a lot of our political conversation today. Like the city liberals, the people who are at least in American politics that are more prone to support like Mayor Pete or Elizabeth Warren. I mean, not all of them supported the Liberal Democrat Party, but those people who did support Warren, they're much more the kind of politically invested type people, and the people who supported Corbyn in those locations. A lot of Labour Party members really were people who did not like Brexit. They just didn't like Brexit. They were not for it at all. But a big part of their constituency and the things that got them really over the hump of the past were the mining coalitions in the center of the country, the Midlands, I think it's called, and that just didn't get them over the edge. So, and they were very, very pro-Brexit. And Corbyn took an anti-Brexit stance, an anti-Brexit tact. So, and Boris Johnson had the incredibly easy, simple slogan, let's get Brexit done. That's what it was. Let's get Brexit done. So, you can't really argue with a slogan simpler than that. But like the fact that, again, I hope I've proven to you, giving you a little bit of an idea, at least a little bit of an idea, that the talking point that you may try to use again, because, people are probably going to try and throw out everything when it comes time to really try and stop Bernie. But the idea of, there's just the same as Jeremy Corbyn in the UK, like that is just, again, it's based on someone who has only a child's understanding of politics, because they're both left-wing candidates in their respective countries. No! Like, they are fighting for completely different things. They have completely different coalitions. Like, it's, okay, they're both left. They want to push the country more to the left, but Bernie is fighting for things that are way, way less radical than what Jeremy Corbyn was fighting for politically. If you convert them if you take a look at how they were received in both their respective countries and political systems. Anyway, let's continue with this.
Come that student at the University of Houston, that single mother that knows that plights that people go through. Who knows? Maybe Mayor Mike can come on. But right now, I got to tell you, I'm not very impressed.
I got to say, James, I'm amazed at how often I hear Democrats reminding other Democrats, if you don't win, none of it's worth anything.
Nothing. Without power, there's nothing. There's only one moral imperative in this country right now, and that is to beat Donald Trump. That's the only moral imperative. It's the only thing I want to hear. Until we understand that. We win every argument, Brian. We win an argument on anything. We don't win elections because we talk about stuff that is not relevant. We had a great experience in 2000.
Oh, yeah. Like guaranteeing health care, like paying off people's student loan debt. Like Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, they're the people. The neoliberal side is the side that talks about completely empty platitudes. Like, you don't see an online generator for platitudes popping up about Bernie Sanders, because you can't, because he's real, he's authentic, he knows what he believes, he has beliefs that carry him. These are policies that carry him. What carries Pete Buttigieg through this race? What carries, I don't know, someone like Joe Biden? Well, they're different things, but what carries, I know, Pete Buttigieg through this race is a deep, all-corrupting desire to be president of the United States. That is what does it, and that is what drives him. So I think that's becoming increasingly clear every day. And people like Bernie canvassers, Bernie himself, has devoted so much time and energy and effort going through this, going through on a day-to-day basis with the most disadvantaged people in this country. For example, when he went to one of the poorest neighborhoods in the country in Alabama, the poorest zip codes in the country, like exposed how there was like sewage in people's backyards there. Like, I'm sorry, there's no other candidate doing that. And that, like, I think that's what people care about. People care, like, to make the case and try to spin it that Bernie Sanders does not have the most issue line, the most pro-worker, pro-working class agenda is just a complete. Again, it's the political analysis of a child. Like, what does this mean? Talking about things that aren't relevant. Like, what is relevant? A quote from Pete Buttigieg being like, the democracy is the issue that defines our time. Democracy, like the shape of democracy, is the issue that affects all other issues, which is the platitude-esque quote for what he says. But this guy, again, he hilariously supports Michael Bennett. Like, you take him seriously to a point, but then you realize, like, Oh my gosh, yeah, you support Michael Bennett. Like, come on.